Hey everyone, I wanted to run you through this toe-assisted ring muscle-up drill. It really helps get you through the transition of the muscle-up from the pull to the dip part, which is where most people tend to have the biggest issue when they're trying to get their first muscle-up. So how it's set up is you stand directly underneath a pair of rings that are set up around hip height. They can be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depends on your height and your limb lengths. So from this position, what you do is your feet stay still, and you drive your knees as far forward as you can as you sit down into that ring row. So the idea here is that the toes will be able to help you out a little bit, but it's your arms and your hips doing the majority of the work here. So they're able to take some of the load off, but not all of it. So what you're going to do from this ring row position is maintain tension in your glutes until you finish through the pull. The idea here is that if you lose that tension, you're just losing efficiency. You're kind of dropping out some of that power, and you're not going to be able to get as good of a pull through the lats and through the arms in order to get you high enough to get you into the transition. So make sure you're keeping those glutes tight throughout until you get into the dip portion of the muscle up. So I'm looking for a nice straight line from your knees to your shoulders is the idea. So what you do with your rings is you are pulling those right to the bottom of your breastbone. So think right at the bottom of that bony part of your chest. You're trying to keep the rings as close as you can to each other and pulling right to that spot. When you reach that spot, what you're going to do is trace the outline of your ribs as you turn the rings outwards to get you into the dip position. So it looks like this, tracing the outline of the ribs as I come over top and gets me into the dip position. So you can see the rings turn as I trace around. So I'm tracing that with that thumb edge of the rings. I'm tracing around my rib cage. It helps you transition right into the dip. Now, also one other thing is happening as you're doing this trace here. Notice the hips are driving backwards as you go up. Right? So this is the portion where you go from that stiffness, you're maintaining that nice hollow position, and here is as you're transitioning, you're driving your hips backwards, and that helps get you up over top of the rings into a dip position. So if I was being picky with myself here, which I am, what I'd like to see is my head up a little bit and actually looking straight ahead as opposed to looking down at the ground like that. That will help keep my chest up a little bit higher and put my shoulder in a little bit better position to push. But what I do want to see no matter what is this. Forearms pointing straight down towards the ground. And this is because the force of your push is going to go wherever your forearms are pointing. Right? So if my forearms are way behind me and pointing way back there, well, that's not going to be very efficient in order to push me straight up into the top of that dip. So I want those forearms facing straight down. Like I said, a little bit higher chest angle would be okay for me, and then eyes straight ahead from this position. And then from there, it's all just pressing up into the dip, fully extending at the top through the elbows, and maintaining your stability. This is also a great way to get the feeling of what it feels like to be on the rings up there and fully supported on the rings without the use of your legs. Why don't you guys give this a shot? Let me know if you have any questions.